this has got to be the biggest choke job, if not the second biggest in Seattle sports history. And everything in this video, I want to be clear, is solely about this game and only this game. I'm still happy about the season, and I'm still very, very happy that I got to watch the Seattle Mariners play for a real shot to go to a championship series. But in this game, with everything on the line, they did more than enough to win it. And the biggest reason why they didn't was simply they managed their way out of it. And we will get to that. I want to kind of go through this game as best I can and just show you guys key moments that I felt like were exactly what you wanted from this team. The players themselves, I felt like produced at exactly the level you would expect them to in a series that came down to a game 7. Starting with one of your biggest stars on the team, Julio Rodriguez, getting thrust into the leadoff spot, leads off the top of the first inning, second pitch of the game with a double down the line. A good piece of hitting from Julio. He stayed aggressive. He got a pitch that he liked. He got on base and gave his team a chance, and they capitalized because it brings up Josh Naylor, who now is batting third in the lineup after making some changes, which I mostly agree with the changes they made. With one out and the go-ahead run in the first inning on second base, another clutch base hit between first and second, and that scores Julio. Even with the right fielder Barger having a cannon for an arm, Julio is too fast. You're never going to get him. It's an easy go-ahead run. And something else in this game that I don't know if I've really ever seen, Jorge Polanco with a full count is going to ground into a tailor-made double play. And keep in mind, Polanco's not a fast runner. This was going to be a double play regardless of what's about to happen here. But Josh Naylor jumps up and just gets in the way. And the Blue Jays manager comes out immediately like, that has to be interference. There's no way you're letting this slide. And it was the right call, because as soon as a base runner is out and you're still on the base paths, you cannot go and then interfere with the defensive player being able to make a play on the ball or make a throw at a base. Once you're out as the base runner, you don't have the right to just go and try to get in the way of everything. Although it would be funny and entertaining. I actually was kind of surprised at how long it took them to make this call and how much of a disagreement there was on the broadcast, because that's clearly interference. They ruled them both out. That ends the first inning, but a good try by Naylor. That guy, this guy's a lunatic. Now we go to the bottom of the first. George Kirby gets the start in this game. Honestly, I did not have a lot of confidence in Kirby coming into this, especially based on how he's looked in this series and honestly in the playoffs as a whole. Hasn't been great. And in this first inning, he gets a leadoff walk. I already was like, okay, I'm done with this guy. And then, in my opinion, gets away with another absolutely horrendous mistake here. He throws a fastball right down the middle to Vlad Guerrero Jr. It's 99 miles an hour, but that is right in the middle of the plate. Got very, very lucky that that only ended up being a single, but the Blue Jays take advantage. Runners on first and second, now with 2 outs. Base hit. That pitch was way low. I can't believe he even got to this. It looks like this is either a curveball or a slider. Whatever that pitch was, it's way out of the zone, but it finds a hole. The Blue Jays tie up the game. But that brings up the first big decision that I felt like was a mistake by Dan Wilson. You go to the very next inning. The pressure is on Shane Bieber. He has not looked great so far. He gives up back-to-back base hits to Randy Arozarena and Eugenio Suarez, the 5 and 6 hitters, bringing up J.P. Crawford, the number 7 hitter in the lineup. They elect to go with a bunt and play for 1 run, right? J.P. Crawford does his job, sacks the bunt, moves the runners over into scoring position with 1 out. But I have a couple problems with this. Anyone that's seen my videos before understands I'm usually a fan of bunting when you know it's going to be a close game, when you know your pitching's going to be better, and you're just trying to secure 1 run. But in this particular instance, you have to account for who's coming up behind the guy that's bunting. And on top of that, where are you at in the game? Because in the second inning, I don't think that's the time to be giving up an out to move the runners over. That's the time where you should probably be taking a little bit more of a gamble in this spot. See if you can get a rally going. Let your guys swing the bat. The pitcher has not looked great. He's given up back-to-back singles. Make him pitch to you. And the worst part of it, the 8 and 9 hitters behind JP Crawford all series long have been horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. So you're actually bunting to give, in this series, Leo Rivas and Victor Robles a chance to put the ball in play and score a run for you. And I know that Leo Rivas typically has been a good contact hitter. He's been giving you good at-bats in like the Detroit series, but in this series, he's been god-awful. And he gets undressed. He strikes out. He's not even close. And that essentially ends the inning because the next batter is Victor Robles, and he grounded out on the very first pitch, and that ends the inning instantly. It's over. Any hope that you had of having a big inning there and getting to the top of your lineup and giving Julio, who led off with a double on the first, a chance to hit with guys maybe on base, you destroyed it. You played for 1 run in the second inning. That's not the worst decision of this game, but it was certainly one that I didn't like. I was not a fan of playing for 1 run here, not with the 2 guys he had coming up behind JP Crawford. I'd rather see JP Crawford swing the bat. JP's a vet. He has had big home runs. He does have power. I don't mind letting him hit here. So I thought that was a bad decision. And just to kind of rub some salt in the wound here, the 3rd inning comes up. You're leading off with Julio. It's still a tie game. And Julio finds a way to absolutely pound an outside pitch over the left center field wall, take the lead in the game. This is what you need your stars to do in a game 7. You need them to do these kinds of outrageous, clutch, purely talented plays to give your team the best chance to win. Julio did that in this game. And on top of that, you also had Cal, who in my opinion is the MVP of the entire American League this year, do the same thing. Takes advantage of a pitch in the top of the 5th, pounds that one out, and takes a 2-run lead. This is exactly what you need from your players in a game 7. They came out and gave this pitching staff and gave Dan Wilson a lead in game 7. That's all you can ask for from this lineup. When both teams are all hands on deck, we're throwing our best pitchers possible. That's all you can ask for. I also felt you had good defense in this game. JP Crawford in the 5th inning with 1 out, you're still up by 2, gets a ground ball where it's tough. You can't wait for Rivas to get to second. He's not going to get there in time to make the double play. JP recognizes it, sprints to second base, hops over the base runner, throws midair, and secures the double play for you. You have JP Crawford making plays on defense, saving runs. You have Julio and Cal both going yard and leading this team up to this point. You have held this absolutely on fire Blue Jays lineup to 1 run with the better pitching staff with a 2-run lead. And now we go to just the most pitiful mistake. We go to the bottom of the 7th. We are about to face the top of the Blue Jays lineup. Hopefully, if you execute for the very last time in this series, if you do this right, this should be the last time you are going to have to face the top of the Blue Jays lineup. With runners on 1st and 2nd, the Blue Jays decide they are also going to sacrifice bunt to move them over into scoring position. You secure the out, and now you have runners on 2nd and 3rd. In a 2-run game, bottom of the 7th, top of the lineups coming up. You need 8 outs and to save a 2-run lead to go to the World Series. In this position, I said it right when it happened. I knew it immediately. In a game 7, you have to put in this situation the very, very best pitcher you have. In particular, the guy that is most likely to give you a strikeout. Keep in mind, you had Luis Castillo available. You had Bryce Miller available. You had Gabe Spire available. I wouldn't have used him, but he's available. You have Edward Bizardo, who's been good in the playoffs, but has pitched, I think, every single game in this series. They've seen him a ton, and he hasn't really looked the best as of recently in the last few games. And Andres Munoz, who is, in my opinion, probably the best reliever, if not the 2nd best reliever in the entire American League, and definitely the best reliever in this game, who does not give up home runs, who strikes out the most batters, and Dan Wilson decides to go at the top of the lineup with Edward Bizzardo. Now, I got to make sure I keep this in its proper light, and I want to make something very, very clear, and I think a lot of Mariners fans would agree with me on this. When I saw this, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew it was over, but no matter what had happened in this instance, even if Bizzardo had executed this and gotten out of this inning, I still would be up here saying Dan Wilson horribly mismanaged this instance. Horribly. This was 100% a choke job. This is like not handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line. You have Marshawn Lynch in your bullpen. This is the guy for this situation. And we have seen Dan Wilson do this throughout the season. And it's always bothered me where he has a mindset, he has a game plan, and he's not gonna stray away from it. Andres Munoz in his head is only pitching the 9th inning. I don't care what other instance is coming up. I don't care if it's the end of the lineup. I don't care if it's a 1-run game. I don't care if it's game 7 for the World Series and we need 8 outs and we're facing the hottest 1 through 3 batters you possibly could face in this series. I am not throwing my best guy here. It's an atrocious decision, and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Bizzardo misses his spot, Springer goes yard, and that's the ball game. That's it. It's a gut punch beyond belief. It totally takes all momentum out of your sails. No matter how professional of a team you have, you cannot recover from this. You can't. It's over. I want this to be remembered, this particular game. It needs to be attached to Dan Wilson for the rest of his career as a manager. And even if he wins a championship someday, this has to be attached to this guy. This isn't on the players. I don't think it was. Dan Wilson failed. He failed on the biggest level to put his best players in position to be successful. He failed at that. And adding a little bit of salt into the wound, once again, you get to see Andres Munoz in this game anyways. He didn't pitch particularly well. He gave up 3 hard hit balls. But look at him. Andres Munoz is pitching in the 8th inning, and you're down by 1. I'm so happy Dan Wilson saved Munoz for when you're down a run in the 8th inning to face the 5, 6, and 7 hitters. I'm so happy he saved them for that. Based on how he pitched, maybe they lose anyways. Maybe Andres goes in and gives up the home run just like Bizzardo does. Maybe that's the case, but I need to see it. I want to see the best player get beat. I need to see that happen. I can't live with you putting in the 3rd or 4th best guy in a 2-run game facing their best guys and losing. I need to see best on best. And he didn't do that. And we might not ever get that chance again. And one last thing before I end this whole game here, and I'm just going to shut it away and try to forget about it, but I know I'll never be able to do that. Julio Rodriguez did have a terrible at-bat in the 9th inning. You're trying to get to Cal, the home run derby champion, the MVP of the league. If he can get on base, you're going to give him a chance to try and do something special here. But in Julio's last at-bat, he threw him nothing but sliders, and not a single pitch was a strike. And he swung at 3 of them, and it lost him the game. And I understand being frustrated with Julio in this particular instance for having such a terrible at-bat in such a big moment. But you wouldn't be here without him. You really wouldn't. And I really feel like, as bad as this was, I can't get too much on Julio for this. I honestly felt like he played really well in the playoffs. He had a lot of clutch moments that even got you to this point to begin with. The focus really just needs to be on Dan Wilson. I thought it was a bad decision to bunt. Not putting Munoz in to face the top of the lineup in the 7th is atrocious. Want to make this clear one more time. This was a successful season. It really was. This is the furthest they've ever made it. I still had a ton of fun watching them. regardless of this outcome, I still feel like they were good enough to play in the World Series this year, but it was a good season. I just want to make sure this game is remembered as the Dan Wilson choke game for the rest of Seattle Mariners history and nothing other than that. Because the players, quite frankly, I felt like played well. It just sucks that it has to end this way. I'll see you guys next year.